What's up, Space Joy? I have a bunch of questions about some random stuff that I could use some arbitrary opinions on, and maybe some actual advice. I don't know. Up to you. Either way, welcome. Lower your expectations. This isn't going to be like. That's one of my questions, actually. This isn't going to be like the usual stream. Or maybe it is, I don't know. But I have a bunch of performance-related questions. Like, the reason I have my headphones off is because this thing feeds back when I talk into it with my speakers on, right? And I'm trying to figure out how to resolve that. So that's a standing question. How do I use this mic in a situation where there's a lot of speakers? And I haven't quite cracked that one. Usually I get close, but at some point it does like the whole, hold on. Let me get a little closer. There we go. We get a little bit of that feedback whine whistle. Yeah, that. Not going to go too far on that, but for the reference, my speakers are relatively low. So I'll probably ask that a few times and see if anyone has ideas. But let's get into this subjective stuff. Yeah. Let's say you go to a live performance, like a DJ set, or maybe a DJ set isn't the best analogy, but let's say you go to a live performance. How do you prefer they start the set off, right? Like, do you want them to come at you just full send, or do you want to build up, start with some ambient shit like this, right? Like, let's say I hit some bass note, right? Slowly, tweak the sound a little bit. Bring in some drums here. Let's turn it on to 1 so we can do things faster. But not like actual drums, just like a side chain. Right, do I do that? Slowly, build stuff out. I like to bring in some melody. It's all twisty. Hold on, let me fix this. And I can do some stuff like that. It ultimately leads to a really, really long build-up. Okay, right. I think that's a good point. One of the things about this whole setup in Modular is that there's a novelty in that you can really, I have to turn the volume down so there's less ring mod on my phone, or whatever. Natural room echo, I don't know what to call it. Feedback. With Modular, you can play with the sounds a lot more than you can most other synthesizers, or a DJ sets. All they can do is EQ shit and mix things together, right? Sure, they can do beat repeats and drop in samples and stuff like that, or mix with maybe a Digitact or something, but the sound, the novelty of the sound design isn't as obvious, whereas on this thing, because it's so big, or that one, you can at least see them doing something, so have that, that first voice going again. module quirks. You know, you run into them every day. You get that novelty where you can really, you know, figure out where the sweet spots are. I also like to, that sounds like my microphone, but it's not. You can also find sweet spots, so like if I switch my bass voice a little bit, like that's a switch I flip to go to a different, basically run it through a filter and distortion. But it has some serious sweet spots on that. This one's a hard one for me to hear without headphones because I need a lot of bass. Anyway, so do I do something like that, right? Like that's kind of fun. And for better or worse, it can kill about 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever. I feel like 5 minutes is about right, maybe less. You know, the big concerts, they'll do that for like 15 minutes or something, just to like let the, I don't know. Anyway, there's other options too, right? Like, one thing I did last year was I started with, let's see, that was, I think it was Showdown, the one I started with not last year, 2 years ago. During a performance, I started with something like this. Let me make sure I'm on the right. I think it was J2, I want to say. Alright, I have, so I like using the filter to silence drums and all the things going in a drum mix. But that's another thing I think I need to toy with. So my next question, do I get a subwoofer so I can practice with like some actual sub? I've been trying to use other things instead, but I feel like playing with speakers and sub with the context of the microphone and things like that are a little helpful. But I'm in a tiny room, so a subwoofer would not be great for making good mixes per se, just like sort of like practicing playing live. I wouldn't stream with the sub on, kind of a thing. So do I get a sub, and what sub do I get? I don't know. It doesn't have to be that good. It just has to be annoying in that it has some low frequencies. The reason that I'm bringing that up is because I use that cutoff or that low pass filter to silence drums. So like, for example, if I have these drums going here, there's still actually going to be really, really low subby sound coming out. So if I have a sub, I might be able to see that and actually like account for it, maybe do something different. Whereas right now I'm like, that's good enough, let's just do that, and then, you know, bring in these guys. And then what I can do is just, because I do think even already filtered kick drums with a little bit of low pass just sound freaking dope for a build up. And conversely, noise sounds great through a high pass, so you know that. But anyway, let's go to this other one I did. I may not be on the right voice. This is hard because the phone. Let's see here. What the hell? It's J1. There we go. That was that would have been embarrassing to do live, like in a performance. But we're not at the right BPM though. Let's crank that up just so you can get a sense. Right, like this is another one that's really kind of fun. Cheap old sub. Yeah, so the thing about subs, I haven't done it recently, but typically when I listen through headphones, actually let me back up. I don't think it really matters what sub or headphones you use, as long as you like listen to your streams every once in a while and get a sense for like, oh, my sub's not enough because my sub in real life is too loud, or you know, vice versa. You just learn how to mix a little bit differently and get a sense for that. So doesn't really matter what headphones, but typically if you add a sub and or like use normal listening headphones that have some EQ going on them with like boosted sub and stuff like that, like Beats by Dr. Dre or something, right? Then when you stream, you're going to have less sub than you think you are because your headphones are boosting what's actually going on. So that was something I listened to a while and sort of found a sweet spot with my favorite headphones, which are currently waiting for a new cable because I've destroyed that cable, but I've actually destroyed a few of them, but that's the, but the these headphones, the Audio-Technica, stock DJ headphones that everyone uses, the MX50 somethings, I forget. But anyway, those I feel like have a little bit more sub in them than my fully open back AKGs that I like, and that's okay. But I just know that, so I assume that it's not going to be quite the same. Anyway, those are just some like stream of consciousness thoughts about that stuff. So like one thing I struggled with, or I do struggle with live performances, because I'm in a tiny room, usually wearing headphones, is mixing to room audio. Like typically with a band, you've got a sound person that's sort of handling a lot of that stuff, and I'm sure when I play especially at a few of the venues, there is a sound person that's trying to help me out, but with a modular, it's trickier because you can't like isolate voices as much. It's just a stereo track going in, but I want to figure out how to better mix to the room so things don't A, get as muddy, and B, like one of the things I noticed that I'm just not sure about, like I just want to like if I ever have time, like before a performance, like hit play and then walk like around the house a bit and see what's going on with the highs, because sometimes the highs are too, like the snare drum that I love right now, that sounds good on headphones, might be like soul shattering is the only way I can describe it, like pierces through way too well. It needs to be like just a touch. Those are things that I'm struggling with that I would like to improve a little bit. So something sounds funny to me on this one. There we go. You know what I don't fully understand lately? Sometimes, you know what it probably is? I think I just solved a problem. Okay, so let's just keep it going while I talk. I think I solved a problem. So sometimes I have to adjust how much peak is on here. Actually, I don't understand why I need to do that sometimes. But to get that really nice sound that I like, let's turn off the effects. Like right now what I have going on with that filter is theremin. Right, I have some filter happening with the theremin, which is kind of fun. I also have the theremin controlling how much my drums go to the data bender. For example, it's not great with bass drums to do that, but with other stuff it can sound pretty cool, like D&B style drums. Yeah. Anyway, so that's another style of starting, right? You have like this, you like set the tone with this like really heavy drum thing. But I think there's another style too that I've tried a couple times and never quite nailed it. Let's see if I've got one on here. this is quite the right one. Sure, we can change the tempo. Quite sounding the way I want, but that's okay. It wasn't this one actually. It was maybe it was Black Box. Yeah. Okay, yeah, it was this one. I believe. Nope. It's not it either. Was it the first one? Yes. I wish I could change this so that I didn't have to unmute. It's not it either. Backs? Yeah. So rusty. This one. Yeah. A little faster. This kind of thing where, maybe not even that, but like starting with like a high snare or something, just like immediate energy. Snare does that. Anyway, I feel like that's the last option for me since I'm not good at it. So I think you've helped me a little bit on that. I'll lean towards something more like we first talked about. Let's drop that down. So what's hard about this one, or what can be hard, is that I have to sort of, I don't have any way of counting beats, so I either start it with like that silenced but side trained kick, right, so that I can count bars. Right? Or I have to have maybe a different envelope generator or something on Eurorack, which what I want on Eurorack, as far as I know, does not exist. Because on Cosmo I can get away with shit like this, right? Like I can flip on any voice, right? And just leave it on, has nothing to do with my sequencer. And I can mess with it. Right? And then whenever I want, I can bring in drums. Right? But there's some limitations there, right? You can't do that on Eurorack because they don't have this sweet switch where I can flip the voice on, and also have the ADSR. Anyway, that's a me problem, but something I want to figure out. So that leaves me with, if I want to use a voice on that one, I've got to have some way of timing, right? So side chaining is one way, because then I can at least still hear. I can also put in like alternately, I can do like, let's just really quickly, since we can do project new, yes, no, yeah, I'm gonna have to put in a request on that thing. Anyway, go to this. Can't hear anything because it's silent still. Right. So I can can do the same thing by, having like a hi-hat or something. And, you know, if we want it to be dramatic, I probably wouldn't start with a hi-hat. I might actually go with just like a blip of noise. Of course, put them on the wrong spot. Maybe let's just do whole nuts. There we go. I also need to figure out how to mark knobs that I should never touch, at least in a dark room in a performance. But you could do that too, right? I don't know. Offsets on my VCA to keep it on. Right, well, that's the thing. I can use offsets on a VCA, right? Or something like that. But I find that a little tricky given my module choice. I don't know. I just find it a little tricky. And right now I'm using, what am I using for VCA? Yeah, a couple of things. But for the VCA, it's possible. Basically, I could use the MIA or maths or something to do an offset, but then I have to combine some things, probably with MIA, to make that happen. And in this case, on this one voice, I have basically two VCAs because I have it set up to bypass a few things to give me pretty wide range on it, which is a me problem. But I also don't like offsets in that it's not instant, right? Like it's not always, like it can be instant, right? I could set it up via a switch up here or something that, you know, lets that extra voltage go in and offset it, right? But that's so much more work than, again, flipping a switch on a spot, you know. That's big, I guess. So yeah, you're right. It's totally possible, and maybe I explore offsets. Do I have a hold down? Oh my gosh. Well, I have to go there. Thanks. I don't think, I had no idea. That's cool. Anyway, yeah, so totally doable. You're fully right. Yeah, it is complicated, and it's not complicated with every voice, right? So, right, like the, this voice here, actually, I believe, I should stop doing that in the microphone. That's a bad habit, sorry. Yeah, typically the monophonic voices I have are straightforward, and the voice we were just playing is monophonic, right? I could do that, but I actually went the extra mile with this because I really like, let's just hit play. But let's get rid of that sound in favor of like drums, I guess. Okay, so we have this sound going, right? I can play with it. Right now it's going through basically filter distortion. But I could also, while they change the voice, right? And then I can tweak some, like invert the envelope and things like that to get some really fun sounds, especially when it's playing like a bass line, which we're not doing really right now. Let's see if there's one later on in this track. I think it's actually just drone on this one, so let's load up one. Maybe that one, not sure. Maybe. Let's see what this one sounds like. No, but also I need to adjust adjust that sound. Well, actually, maybe that's right. Right, like it's a super simple bass line, but a big difference between this one and like probably need to go up an octave on it. I've actually adjusted this way it handles octaves since I programmed this. Versus like that, right? And I can do a lot of things with it. Oh, there we go. Versus that, right? So this one's like fun for this kind of stuff, but once I go into the distortion, not as good until but it can get super heavy if I dial it in right. So I like having that quick switch on a few things. And that's not the only voice I do that to, right? Like the lead voice I use a lot. Let's see if this one has one. I wonder if there's a better... Right? I have a lot of performance options on this. Like I can remove the what you call it? Warble. Right, real quick. Sorry, I was just tuning it. Add warble, but I have it, or I have the tremolo sort of tuned so I can go way up without it getting bad. Right, turn off that. You can also go into distortion, which sounds usually better in a different range. But I can also just flip the switch. That one also sounds better if I have a shorter voice. And that one's actually way better, typically on like an ARP, so I think I have an ARP on the other one, so let's do that. Well, it's there. Do I have it here? Nope. Let's just copy that. Copy, paste, play. Let's change the octave. Right, like that's a really fun one versus... Anyway, different vibes. But I like it that I can do it with a quick flip of a switch. Yeah, it's a semi-permanent patch. I mean, I'm constantly playing with stuff more so on the Euro rack side of things versus the Cosmo things, but I have a bunch of modules I need to finish up that will be the first ever Mega Cosmo rearrange, which might be tricky because they're all wooden rails and the screws aren't always... The holes in the modules vary. So some things just probably can't move. Like this module's going to stay here because it was a really early one, so I can't... other modules can't take its place, and it can't take their... Anyway, the whole thing. But this patch changes less because I really like the sounds, and there's not a lot I have to do with it, and I sort of built that up over time as well. So if I... Let's see what's on this one. And I actually want to change this a little bit, like on this voice. I would love it if the notes were a little shorter, so or the gates rather, because then I can make it really short. And right now I have a distortion. Bring it through some reverb. Can stutter it. So like, again, very easy to change around dramatically with just a few switch flips, kind of like a guitar pedal board. Like if I go to a different, let's see. I could do some fun things with this one too, right? Like, oh, I don't have that set up on that one. Is it this level? Oh. No, I have that set up on the filter. Oh, that's what I was gonna do. I have a module that'll let me put some vibrato on this one too. Right, like huge range on a single voice. So yeah, it's that one's closer to permanent. This one I'm constantly switching around, but overall it hasn't changed like at a high level. I have 3 voices, a lead, a lead, a whatever, and a bass, and the drums. And I have that set up that way. Yeah, I've got a lot of other voices too, but I have it set up that way so if I just wanted to take this box somewhere and perform with it, it's doable. Well, that was precarious. Yeah, so that's why that's that way. But I also like simplicity, right? Like if you have a lot of voices, or even if you don't, I like the simplicity of being able to like bypass a module, particularly an effects module, with a switch or a button. It can be a toggle as long as it saves state between power cycles. But the reason I like the switch versus like wet dry is it's instant, and I don't have to search for it. Usually it's like the one thing on there, and I can just tap it and move on. And Eurorack specifically lacks all of that, so can't do that. So I'm stuck with like dry wet, which sometimes you want to go all the way to dry, all the way to wet, pretty much instantly, kind of like a foot pedal, right at the change or a drop or something. And I can't do that. But on the modules they built, they all have some bypass switches, even if they're pretty crude. Definitely not clickless, but they work. And that goes for just about everything over here, except maybe the FX Boy, because there's a little tiny Eurorack voice in here too, which may change. We'll see. Actually, it will change. It's going over there, but one thing at a time. Do I ever automate my performance stuff in time with sequencing, like converted envelopes every 4th bar? Yeah. I sequencer before them, so you can. Yeah. So I do have ways to do that, and I've done that in a bunch of tracks. I typically don't do that as much during a performance because there's usually added complexity, but I do have other sequencers going. For example, I have, let's go back to what we're just listening to. Let's make it really long. The envelope really long. Also, I really like that I have a time knob on my envelopes on here that I can just really make really short. or really long. But that aside, what was I gonna do? Sequencer, right? This might actually be better if I just held like a single note. So what I'm gonna do is actually keep it playing, but go find that voice. Whoops, wrong voice. Too low. So I do have some external sequencing going on in a few places. Like this is a pretty fun way to sequence a track using the evil eye up there. And I do similar things elsewhere. Like I have the voltage block doing some similar things, but I also have another trick up my sleeve where I have an extra couple outputs on my MIDI to CV modules on the Eurorack, and I can assign those. Like I had a track that I did perform with live that was kind of fun, where I would sequence it so that the notes that we're hitting, I think it was on Goon, let's see, load that up. This one, yeah, we can change the tempo. Right, so on this one, on one of the voices, one of those bass notes coming in, it was alternating each hit, hard pan left and right, which is pretty fun if you've got a good stereo setup. And then I also had a basically come back to I could control the spread with a module, so I could as part of a build-up bring it back to center while adjusting the voice and then do a drop. So I do some stuff like that where I'm sequencing stuff outside of the usual. I also use math sometimes. It's actually one of my favorite go-to weird sequencers where I'll use like the like an end of cycle to trigger another cycle that is sending that envelope to something. So it's sort of like at the end of a note or something, it does like a little sequence or stuff like that. I don't know. Hard to explain when you're not doing it in context. So I do stuff like that. I just love the sound. So this is the closest I can get. This voice here, doing the melody, is the closest I can get to my MS-10 in front of me, because it's like very sing-songy, especially if you add some vibrato. A couple little effects. Anyway, but it can also go to like a pretty aggressive voice pretty quick. Right, his turn. Yes, cool. Anyway, for context, let's see. 9, is that one still? That's the MS-10, and if I turn up the sound. So I tried to make a voice on my modular where I wouldn't have to drag the MS-10 everywhere. Not because it's big, it's just I love it so much I don't want to break it. Yeah, anyway, love that sound so much. Like this is the perfect synthesizer, for me, at least. So I tried to recreate that using a voice where I've got the MS-10 filter, which includes like a type of amp, but it's missing, I want to say a specific type of mixer that adds a little bit of something to it. I mean, listen to that. Not the same, right? Like you can't, even if I really crank it, the peak or lower the input. In this case, let's try that. Yeah, I just can't, like that's choppy, what I got is not. But it's close. You can hear like essence of it. Okay, back to questions. Right, so what I'm planning is a performance, right? I want to do a performance, again, at a place, and it's been a while, and I'm trying to figure out how I want to start it off, right? Like, I feel like if you figure out the start, maybe the end, the rest you can sort of work your way through tracks to fill it in, I guess, is sort of how I've done it. Like, I want to set the tone, and I'm not sure what the tone should be, right? Like, it sounds like I know the place I'm playing at will have a lot of DJs playing, and they are very, they're very heavy on D&B, which I've got some tracks that are in that genre, but I'm not sure that they need any more D&B. I also I've started to notice and admit that my tracks are less, I always want them to be like, I don't know, like really high energy, really exciting, get folks moving, right, things like that. They always end up like, honestly, kind of like pretty chill. Even like the intense ones are pretty chill. So I'm thinking I'm going to start not leaning into that, but just acknowledging that fact instead of trying to do like, I don't know, let's see, am I at the right BPM? Let's crank it up to, I want to say 160. Oh yeah, this one had a fun, like, actually this is cool too. So again, my entire case is designed for quick changes and the ability to play with just about everything. Oh, excuse me. Quickly, right, and perform it, and, add some manual flair to it rather than having to sequence everything, because I 100% could set it up in a way that like the HeyPack sequences literally everything and I can hit play and walk away, and that's not really fun for me or anyone else, and it also leaves room, doesn't leave room for enough improvisation based on what like the crowd is doing and stuff like that. I say crowd loosely, but like this is a fun one that let's see here. I started off like this. This is right. feel like I need to tune my kick, but we'll do that later. Actually, I wonder what that's something. Alright, so we've got that going, right? I'm gonna bring in the next thing. Well, let's do it, end of this thing. I may have picked the wrong thing. Just a sec. Should have been Q. Did I get for keeping everything in my head? I think that's the right one.
You are not used to the sound of...
Yeah, this one's really good with good bass headset.
You digitized your brain and fried it.
But also a fun one, and then I've got those
many
drums,
You are not used to the sound of real...
which include that sampler. That sampler is in the drum mix,
Don't
right?
understand what sound is
And
anymore.
I have the theremin level controlling how much
You are not
of that goes
used
to
the
the
sound of real
data bender.
analog.
You don't understand what sound is anymore.
Right, like that's kind of cool.
You are not used to the sound of real analog.
You
Right, like
don't
that feels
understand
like
what sound
a
is
perfect
anymore.
complement to what
You are
you know
not used to
sound
the
is
sound
with the
of real
what he's saying.
analog.
Let's
You
go
are
ahead.
not used to the sound of real analog.
So another thing that kind of bums me out that I got really used to on the Haypacks is that I would, if I had something playing, I would cue up something, stop the music, and then I'd hit play and it would go to the queued up thing. Can't do that anymore. Don't know why.
Don't understand what sound is anymore. You digitized your brain and fried it with too many. You digitized your brain and fried it with too many. You don't understand what sound is anymore. Listen to techno music, 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 listen to techno.
Right, like this is the drop where I would do that.
Music, listen to techno 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 music, but nothing before 2006.
Right, like dumb, but I love it. So that's another minor thing that's bugging me right now, but we'll figure that out later. Anyway, so back to the point. I don't know about D&B this year. I might like have a D&B track, but the trick with D&B is that the BPM is always like 140 to 160, sometimes faster. I don't know, somewhere in that range, because that's when the aim and break sounds awesome. And it's tricky to go down from that, right? Like once you get to that BPM, it's hard. It feels like someone's, you're like running along and then all of a sudden there's like a parachute open, like slowing you down. And so that's a tricky one. So I don't know if I'll go quite into that range this time or not. But also it's not necessarily my favorite genre either. I think it's fun to like toy with dabble D&B like stuff. I don't know. So, backing up, I think I'm leaning toward this track, which is very new, where I start with something like this, right? We talked about this a little bit. Let me get that kick in there. And I'm not sure, like, whether I want it to be, like, which voice. still gotta like figure out. I've gotta work on this track a little more, but it's getting there. Right, like that's not the drop I wanted to do, but like that's an example of what the drop could be. Hold on, I forgot about this part. Hold on, I have to tune it a little bit. That's kind of fun. Make a bad sound, and it can get really good. Completely forgotten what I sequenced on this. But I think this could be a fun track. I wouldn't start with that. Go straight to that harp that I've got going here, like this harp. Do I not have stereo spread happening to that? But I did. Should. Oh, I just can't hear it because it's like both my speakers are over there. Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. It's very important to count bars, or you end up playing an ARP for 8 bars. Well, no, I'm just doing a levels check. Yeah, another thing I'm noting is I just need to play with actual speakers more because the room audio is way different than my headphones, which is fine. It just means I need to mix a little differently for it. But for streaming, I'll probably still use my headphones. Yeah, so I think one of the things that I like to do a lot that leads me to being really mellow is that I like to layer a lot of melodies, basically, or bass lines, right? Like we've got this one. Let's see what this. Hold on, I'm just checking some stuff. Yeah, so I've got the bass line's just a one note held drum, basically. Not really a drum because it's repeating, but it's hard to hear that accent. Yeah, you can kind of hear it anyway. And then I have, a melody that I like. Then you add in another melody. Chill vibe, and then when I go to a drop, it has to be pretty Spartan. I don't think this is a drop, but let's see. Do we have anything programmed like this? This one. Don't love that. But that is an example. Let's see. I think there's a better one, and maybe this one. Yes. Sorry, I have to change that sample. That's not the right track. Anyway, just thinking out loud. Let's get a black box. That's a switch, but I wouldn't do that manually. I'd probably have guess I got some glide going on. Anyway, yeah. What else? Another thing that I want to be conscious of is not going too. I like to mellow out, right? The last 5-10 minutes, like really mellow out, because I want to make it easy for the next person to hype folks up so they can like rest and like go get some drinks and stuff or whatever. So usually I have like a droney thing for that. Not like drone, but like this is one of my favorites that I go to. Yes. And believe it or not, this was like a Valentine's Day one. And this one's funny because I actually have to buy time to set it up because I need to basically turn off, like silence a note, right? Or a voice, turn the filter all the way down. I then do this, which hopefully we're getting some. Yeah, I do that. Sorry, let me start that again. I have a really long attack on it, a really long decay, but I'll do something like this, where I get this noise going. I go to that silence note, quickly hit play, and stop. So now it's in the right pitch. Which needs a little tuning. Pitch is important on drones. And then while I'm doing that, usually I have a free hand to slowly. A few of those are out, but close enough. And then I'll hit play. Well, not play yet. No, not. Then I bring in that other voice, so I turn the volume back up. I've got the filter all the way down, which makes it easy enough to sort of. Whoops, I forgot to hit the button. See, it's been a minute. Turn the voice on. Then I do that, exactly what I said. Then I hit play whenever I want. Right, so tuning, very important. And right now, one of those is not like the other, and that's fine. That's another one I like to end with because it's pretty mellow, has nice drums. Anyway, I've still not figured out the microphone thing. Need more people to jump on. In the meantime, let's check Discord and make sure no one else wants to play. Dang it. Okay, I think it's time to make some noise, huh? So let's figure this thing out. Okay, so when I'm figuring tracks out, oh no, the Apex froze again. Really annoying. Well, it doesn't freeze, but one of the screens locks into place. I cannot figure it out, and it is random. I cannot reproduce it. I've tried for literally hours so that I can submit a bug report with details. But it guaranteed happens to me, and I do not know what's going on. So, the only way to get it back is turn it off and on. Again, gotta buy some time when I do that, which sometimes means figuring out how to buy time or end a song right at the drop. Alright. We are back. Stop doing that. Jerk. So this one's going to take, if I want to start with this voice, it's going to take some serious sound design time to find the right spot to start with and the right spot to end with, right? And I try to find the sweet spot that's like just a sine wave almost, right? You can see it. Well, old sine wave. Wobbly. So I think I have exactly half of that track where I want it, roughly. The other half, I feel like I need like a significantly different scene change or break or something. So I'll play with that in a minute. I want to load up something else actually. See how it's feeling after not playing it for a while. This one, I don't remember the BPM, but I think it was like 120, I want to say. Okay, this might be a good mellow one to end with, I don't know. Trying to dig that. end is mellow, but I feel like that's like middle of the set mellow, not ender. Let's see, there was another one I messed with at some point recently. What's this one? 31. That feels like the start of something, but no, that's not what I'm looking for. Don't know about that bit. Yeah, that could be a good intro. The downside of sidechain. I think this one could be a fun one to play. Just needs a lot more work, so let me write down some stuff. I don't know. Heading off now. Thanks. Appreciate it. Let's see. I am out of napkins and stuff. Gotta stop doing that. It's such a bad habit. Do we have a cardboard box I can destroy? Yeah. Maybe you. Actually, you're kind of a convenient size. There it is again. Huh. Let me just hang this up so I stop doing that. thought I would want a sequence windowing, but now I do. Too bad. Can't do everything. Ugh. Alright, I think... So good. Let's drop it down an octave. I am now outside. This is no longer in the range of sub that my speakers can play, but you can hear it. I can hear it at least. That is the lowest. There's a sort of sub sign or something going on with this. That's the lowest I can hear it in this room. Which might just be my ears, I don't know. Gotta love that detune, right? It just makes detune plus filter and resonance and distortion give you this unstable feel. Cool. Anyway, let's see. Go lower. I think what I'm kind of struggling with here, with the modular, is that you can make all of these interesting sound design choices, which is great. No complaints. But it's hard to quickly dial in some of those changes, right? Like, let's say I want to, I'm probably just talking to myself at this point, which is fine. Just need to rubber duck. Okay, so the hard thing is that, let's say I want to take a voice, a basic monophonic subtractive synth voice where you've got an oscillator, a filter, etc. And I want to take it with a single envelope and invert the envelope sometimes with high resonance and a low cutoff, which gives you this big like whoa, right? And then maybe on that one you want it so that that when you hold it down, you basically have like a long attack, but you want as soon as I lift up, the sound to stop, almost like it's gated or muted. In which case you want 0 decay, right? Or 0 release, excuse me. You can do that if you have, like I have, built I think somewhere over here is a VC voltage controlled ADSR that has control over basically every single one of those parameters, but then I have to sequence that somehow, or have something like transitions, which is like an ADAC module where I can quickly change from one setting to another across a handful of things at once. But you would need inputs for that, and you also need a module that allows you to do that, or a sequencer that allows you to do that, in which case you're sequencing multiple things at the same time to get that dialed. And then if you're doing that, you're afraid to touch the manual controls because the resonance and the filter need to be in very specific spots. So getting that sound design thing exactly where you want it is tricky, whereas on like, any of the groove boxes or DAWs, you can do that without a second thought, right? Which gives you a huge range. Like Modular has, I think, just as big of a range, or pretty, actually, you know what, that's not even true, right? Like, nothing's going to have the range of a DAW. Just full stop. But Modular lets you get to weirder places easier than a DAW and understand how sound works a lot better, so it's got some advantages. But it does have a huge range. It's just hard to transition from one good sound that fits well in the mix to another wildly different sound on the same voice. And that's something I've struggled with consistently, that I try to play with, and I just don't have it dialed. Because, like, for example, let's turn up the decay on that. This bass voice, right? Let's see if I can get, let me load up something with the sequence on that one. What's this? I don't think this has a sequence on it. Yeah, it's just like a really basic, I want a better sequence, so let's load up, is that what I'm looking for? Yeah, it's just playing at the wrong speed. Okay, so if I get that to the right speed, which is a little faster. Actually a simpler change from what I usually have for this voice particular is no resonance and maybe not full open, but like, let's load up a second track at the same time. Let's load up probably this one, right? No, we'll keep the same tempo, which could be weird, but that's an example of how I like to have that bass voice. Like, I like to have it open. Usually it has a second oscillator, but that's busted right now. I need to fix that. Which you get this like nice detune when it's wide open. You really notice the detune. Then if I go from a track like that to this one that I was just playing, where I've got this sound, like, that sounds okay, but I often want to start off. Way too much glide, resonance, and lowered filter, but to dial up the filter, you don't want the resonance too hot. Where you get that? Change, right? Like, I have to remember to do all of that and find gaps in my playing where I make that change. Otherwise, I'm looking at doing it while it's playing, right? So let's go back to that, how it was before, right? Open, no glide, something like this. Fine in a lot of cases, but in this case, you kind of want like that rapid change, and luckily on this track I've done it in a way that I have like a lot of time before that hits to sort of blindly dial it in while it's silent. I don't love doing that. So I'm open to other ideas there. What else? Like, let's say, another thing that's kind of fun to do, actually, let's see, that's a good one. Sorry, load up. Sorry, my tracks are kind of like, I don't know, Fight Club or something, where they're all named as dates, so I can like look at streams and be like, oh, that was good, I should play that again. And I'll convert, once I really like it enough to add to a set or finish a track, I will name it. So, I don't know. Anyway, but I guess it's not like Fight Club. It's more like when the track is not dead, it gets a name. I don't know. Anyway, part of that is just how sorting works on the Apex. But let's say this track has, I believe, a nice, let's see here. Not exactly what I'm looking for, but close enough. I'm not going to save this one, so I'll mutilate it a little bit. Right, so let's say I have this kind of a thing, right? But I actually want to invert the ADSR, right? I can run it into an attenuverter, which I don't think I actually have on this voice, so we're going to have to change to a different voice. Hold on. Okay, let's get it to similar settings, so no reverb. And a lot more time. So it's somewhere like this. A little bit different, but you get the idea. Alright, what happens if I want to invert the envelope, right? So I gotta go find the envelope, which I don't think I have going through the attenuverter right now, so it's just going straight here. So we get to do some patching. I actually do have an inverted out on my envelope, so I could use a switch as well, but that's not a bad idea. I don't know if I even have a switch though. I could make one. But in that case, actually, I'm not even sure that's inverted out that I want, right? Right, there's no out right now. That's what I confused myself a little bit. Okay, so it's not inverted out right now, which is fine, because I have the antenna over in the center. So if I go back to the regular positive, it should be normal. Okay, so that's what it sounds like, but if I invert it, why are you not inverting? Did I do it wrong? I did it fully exactly wrong, right? Can't believe that actually did anything, but yeah, let's put it in. There we go. Now we have inverted. Right, now we go back to regular. But the problem with this still is that I have to mess with the cutoff. Like invert it. So that might just be levels, right? Where is this just off and on right now? What's going on here? That is out. Yes. This is in. Oh, because I have low attack. There we go. No. I think I actually just want a long attack. And not inverting it. Oh yeah, that's not inverted, that's just a long attack. Okay. Which you can kind of do with an invert, but, anyway, there's no quick way for me to do that, so if I want, like, a sound like this, particularly one that's like, I don't know, 2 bars, right, you can get some rowdy stuff that way, but anyway, you really have to dial it in. You see how it's already, like, taking me a long time. Granted, I'm doing it one-handed. Anyway, anyone else here? Oh, hey, Stogo. I'm just, like, rambling and complaining about stuff, and by complaining, I mean asking for advice on random things and talking about stuff I'm struggling with. So, any advice or, random opinions is welcome. I'm just gonna put this back before I forget. I like things having, you know, where they usually are is good, most of the time. Alright, let's, should I leave the attenuator in there? I just don't use it that much right now, so I'm gonna pull it. Okay, cool. Yeah, so. What's going on there? Why is it? Oh snap, who needs a radio wave detector when you can use a phone mic? Sorry, when you find stuff, you gotta play. Alright. So, what I was trying to do is figure out a good place to start, because I feel like if I could start a set, then rest starts to fall in place. And so I was debating on how to start it, whether I start at high energy or whether I start at like very, very synthesizer-y, like. Right, I agree with you. Like, musically, if I'm composing, I always tend to start pretty simple. Like, I think a lot of people get stuck when they're trying to do something complex, and if I find myself stuck at all, I'm like, alright, one note, let's just do one note, right? Right, like you can do a lot. It's just pretty much like playing it, tapping it, I don't know. Doesn't even have to be played like that. You can see on this track I did exactly that, where I started with literally a drone note, right? And then I have a couple of little sequences, right? Like I did this little melody. Right, and like that's not even that complex, but it gives you something to like pay attention to. And then the next thing I was like, well, I kind of want a disgusting sound to go into this, right? So I played with a few different, voices and things, but my go-to, the original Cosmos synth, has the ability to sound disgusting without having to change much settings. It's pretty much just like an octave setting with a lot of resonance, so really aggressive transient. Short melody adds to the drone a little bit. And I am using the rat and a reverb to do some funk with it. Right, like I feel like there's a music video, or not a music video, a YouTube video I saw recently. I haven't actually watched the video, I just saw like the title of it and sort of guessed, but it was, I want to say, Venus Theory, the person who just like talks about stuff and does cool music stuff, but lately it's been a lot of like analyzing things and talking about the industry in different ways. Anyway, a recent video I think he made is about how modern, I want to say it was like modern melodies are more sound design than anything, and I don't remember the exact title of it, but there was like Sophie and I forget who else, but like two artists that particularly do just great sound design. Like the melodies aren't that complex a lot of the time. Well, I'm not even gonna say that they're all brilliant, but a lot of it is built around like an interesting sound, right? And often there's sounds that like they're like that, where it's like kind of disgusting in ways, but like when you put it into context, it could sound really good. So I think that's an interesting seed of a thought, and also goes along with some simplicity, right? Like the more I build up, the more is going on, right? And then instincts are to like, I don't know, build out, for me is build out secondary melodies, so I have like another one over here. I love that. It's like it's a lot of sweetness, but a little bit of, I don't know, salt or something, right? Like it's that same voice, right? It's the same, that's this. And changing nothing. Really, that's all you need. But my tendency is to keep building, so like you can see on this sketch, right, like it's not a full track yet. I've doubled up that with the bass line. Cool, but I also bring in like other melodies, which this is that first melody, just for a refresher. It's this one. Right, like that one, only it resolves. Same thing, but an octave higher. Is to keep going and keep adding more melodies or bass lines. In this case, an ARP. Right, so I've got that, then you bring in those other two again. And at this point, it's probably too much. I think. So it's better to like you can do, I think it's okay to do that for a little bit right before a drop or something just to add some noise, but it's not as clean as like, just this. Or even just the one. I also like to switch around, like take the same melody and try it on different synths, so. Basically like flipping what's on what. I don't know. Right, I also play with bass lines. So okay, like I had just a drone note, right? But what happens when I take that same stuff and apply it to like this? Sorry, I'm toying. Right, like now I've got 4 notes or whatever instead of 1, but yeah. Anyway, so I'm working on figuring out how I like want to kick off a set, right? And I feel like starting with, given that it's a modular, starting with something that I can very clearly like do some like live like sound design, play with that a little bit. Even do some build-ups, things like that. Basically just play with is enough of a novelty that also adds to the build-up. Versus starting with just like something a little spicier, like maybe not that, but like. Maybe not that exact thing, but you get the idea. Like versus starting with like something high energy snare of some sort. I don't know. So trying to figure that out. Anyway, I feel like I'm at the point where I've decided to do this route. But now I need to finish the track, which is fine. Also, another thought about finishing tracks is I will often do a lot of sketches, right? Like I don't know. I just create a new day. Well, I make a new track, save it, play around a little bit, save it with the date, not a name or anything. And usually when I stream, those are the stuff I really like, and I'll go back and watch those, and maybe steal from those or finish them. But also I'll go back and like steal some gems. Like what I was doing when you walked in was like trying out some old stuff that I don't even remember, and just seeing if there's like some good stuff in there, steal some drums, steal a melody, you might have to transpose it, things like that. So the idea being, I don't have to come up with all the ideas at once. Gosh, what a good sound. so far with just a filter. Alright. I don't know how much longer I'm going to stream. Like, I'm sort of feeling like I need an extra hand. Maybe you have ideas on this. How do I make my microphone not feedback? So, right now I have my volume not super loud on my speakers, but if I get close to them or turn the volume up, it will feedback. Like, you'll get that little bit of feedback sound. Let's see if I get close enough. Yeah. Hear a little bit of ring as I get close. But when I play in person, I really want to use the phone and talk on it. But given the scale of the speakers and how loud they are, I'm not really sure how to make that happen, because it requires no input from me. Like, literally just having the phone unhooked can cause a feedback loop, which I don't love. So I'm open to ideas on that one. Not really sure how to resolve that other than a different microphone or something. I don't know. So I have my drums going through, actually I have it set up so my theremin can control how much of my drums go into the data bender, which is super fun, but gotta make sure the theremin is always a little bit negative so that I don't have it data bending when I don't want it to. It's actually kind of the fun part where you get to play with, like, okay, what does a different drum vibe sound like with this stuff? I don't know. Feel like that's missing a note. Let's add a note. liking enough of this to name it. What should it be called? If anyone's still listening. The difference between a good bass line and a duck is glide. Oh, Sid Heresy. Sorry, I forget to do that sometimes. Not really performing so much, it's just like trying some things with some tracks and sounds and all that stuff. Feel free to backseat drive, no joke, whatever you want. heard that too many times, so I'm gonna step away and do something else. It's been solid almost 4 hours. Alright, cool. Let somebody else stream.